Good evening and welcome to our special coverage on France 24 English with me, Jean-Emile Jammine. It's a historic day for Paris Saint-Germain and their fans. The club is celebrating their first ever Champions League title after that stunning 5-0 victory over Inter Milan last night in Munich. These are live scenes coming to you from the Champs-Élysées, Paris alive with festivities, and we're bringing you all the action, an electric atmosphere on one of the most famous routes in Paris, as all these fans wait in anticipation. The teams coming down in the buses for the victory parade. Hundreds of thousands expected here on the streets of Paris today. The players set to arrive on those two open-top buses right now. We can see what it's all about. The crowd absolutely buzzing. They've been up there since this morning, and we can now just ask Paul Myers on set with us from RFI, our sports journalist. What is this meaning for these Paris fans right now? It is huge.
It's going to be something they've been dreaming about, really, for a very long time. They've had their problems, obviously losing in the final in 2020 to Bayern Munich, the first final in the Champions League. But now they're able to savour a triumph, which people have been expecting as well. That's the thing.
This ends a 32-year drought for French teams in the Champions League. How significant is this going to be for French football? What does this signal about the shift in European football hierarchy?
I think it's going to make a huge difference because obviously over the years everyone's been saying there's nothing really great about French football. But Paris Saint-Germain have beaten Liverpool, Aston Villa and Arsenal, three of the Premier League's finest teams, to get to the final, and now they've of course beaten Inter Milan, who are one of Europe's greatest sides.
Well, authorities say there's a capacity of 110,000 for this iconic avenue. Security is tight, but we do have Selina Sykes, who's been stationed on the Champs-Élysées. Terrific atmosphere. Selina, just bring the anticipation to us. What kind of environment are you in right now?
Since last night, hasn't it, here in the French capital? Thousands of fans already here along the Champs-Élysées to witness that historic moment when PSG will be parading the Champions League trophy along the iconic Champs-Élysées. Police have fixed a maximum capacity at 110,000 fans here, and I can tell you there's already a lot of people here in place. The doors opened at 2:30 p.m. For fans to come in. Lots of people here as soon as doors open. Obviously, everyone just really eager and excited to see their favourite players here on the Champs-Élysées with that trophy. Historic win for PSG. A lot of people just saying they could not miss this moment. They had to be here along the Champs-Élysées for this historic moment, Jean-Emile.
Selina, you've been speaking to fans, I'm sure. Just bring us their emotions. It has been, ever since the creation of this club, the absolute apex, winning the Champions League. Now a lot of them can finally say, it's over, it's done.
That's right, Jean-Emile. I think that was the number one thing a lot of fans were saying. Finally, we've been done it. We've been waiting for it for so long. There's obviously been so much expectation, especially since the Qatari owners have come in. A lot of fans saying that this is the way they wanted to do it, and that they have so much more optimism and hope regarding this young PSG side. This a young side that Luis Enrique has virtually started from scratch since he took over the reins at PSG with so many young stars. So a lot of fans saying, well, why not? This might just be the beginning for PSG. They've got a very good side now and a very good manager. Why not win a few more Champions League titles? Why not to try to win a few more? You know, a lot of talk about the French league being the farmers' league. Well, they've knocked out a lot of Premier League clubs to get to this Champions League title this year. So why not go for some more titles next year and for the years to come? It's a very young squad, and a lot of optimism and a very bright future ahead for this young PSG team. A lot of fans out here today waiting for that moment. They're very, very excited. It was just really nice to hear the various different stories about where people were yesterday, not just here in Paris, outside in the Parisian suburbs as well. People saying that maybe not the whole of France, because obviously there is a bigger Paris Saint-Germain-Marseille rivalry, but a lot of people across the country are very happy to see PSG win. Obviously, PSG only being the second club, a French club in the history of the Champions League to lift the trophy. So a very historic moment, especially for PSG fans who will be witnessing that first trophy being paraded along the Champs-Élysées. Now, I can tell you that the avenue is chock-a-block with fans waiting for that moment. Obviously, the squad has already touched down in Paris. We are eagerly anticipating, waiting their arrival. They'll be starting around Place de la Concorde and then making their way up along this iconic avenue, all the way up to the Arc de Triomphe, as you can see behind me.
Selina, that is fantastic. And you mentioned that dynasty that can be created. Also, the reaction of fans. It's not just fans that we've even been speaking to. We spoke to the former PSG captain, the youngest ever captain, Mamadou Sakho. He was 19 when he was made the captain. And this is what he had to say, a lifelong Paris Saint-Germain fan out on the streets last night after the win.
Before the match, I said it. I was certain. They did it. Beautiful football, a fantastic team, an incredible crowd. What more could you ask for? That sums it up. An absolutely magnificent, unforgettable evening. I truly believe the club deserves this. They've been working toward it for so many years. This year, they managed to create an extraordinary team spirit. I think of all of France will be proud of what Paris Saint-Germain achieved tonight. Well, maybe except for one little village out there, like something out of Asterix. Perhaps there is a small village that is not thrilled. But well, I will say no more about that. It's their business. Those who are happy, we welcome them. Those who want to stay in their corner, no problem. In any case, the Big Ear trophy will be sleeping under the Eiffel Tower tonight, and tomorrow, a visit to the Elysées. We are going to celebrate this. Goodbye.
That was Mamadou Sakho, former captain of PSG, amongst the fans, celebrating all with them. And he was there from before the Qatari takeover. These are the images of the bus coming towards the famous route. We can bring in now Simon Chadwick, Professor of Afro-Eurasian Sports at the Emion Business School in Coventry. Thanks so much for joining us, Simon. We've heard from both Selina Sykes on the Champs-Élysées. We've heard from Mamadou Sakho, possible dynasty on the way. Qatar's investment paying through.
It would seem so, certainly in the short term. They've spent more than a decade now and lots of money trying to get this right. It looks as though they have at this point in time. But as we know, the great clubs of the world, the clubs that appear at the top of money leagues and of rankings of the all-time greatest, and I'm thinking particularly of Real Madrid here, don't just do this once. They do it on an ongoing basis. So the big challenge now for PSG, for the owners, for people associated with the club, is to come back after the summer and do it again, and then continue to do it.
Oh, let's begin, Paul, once again. Paul, it's all about having the sensation again and again and again. This was the Qatar dream from 2011, to have these kind of emotions, and they building it on a foundation of very young players which have a decade in them. Can we see a PSG dynasty evolving right now?
Well, in terms of the Champions League, it does come down to a bit of luck as well. You can have all the money spent, and about €1 billion have been spent to get to the point now. It's not about only spending the money, it's about creating that ethos and that winning mentality. And as Simon says, the other teams, the Real Madrids, the Chelseas and the Arsenals are going to be looking to do exactly what PSG have done this season. And I don't necessarily agree with Mamadou Sakho that PSG deserve it, because the Arsenal fans will say, we deserve it too. We haven't won it. We haven't been to a final
Arteta
since.
says that Arsenal was the best team in Europe. We can't argue with him, surely.
Well, PSG got to the final, and that's the key. The Champions League, it seems to me, being a bit of an old Chelsea supporter, when they've won it, it's been very, very lucky. And it's always that kind of thing that matters in a Champions League campaign.
And yet, this is everything that their owners wanted. It was a big investment, Simon. At least at the time, it was only actually £52 million that the Qataris bought PSG for. But the Champions League, changing the ethos of the club, that was always in their target, that was always in their sights. Do you think that it stops here? Do you think that they're going to carry on? I mean, what's in it for the owners to make sure that this happens again and again?
I mean, the first thing that I would say to you is obviously keep in mind, if you're talking to an English guy like me, our capital city, the British capital city in London, we've got more than one club that conceivably could win the Champions League. You've mentioned Arsenal and Chelsea. You've got other clubs in the city too. Same in Manchester, same in Liverpool and elsewhere. And I think for a city of the size of Paris and the passion that not just football fans but sports fans in general in the city have, it's about time that Paris actually won the Champions League or won the European Cup as it used to be. So this is really, really important, not just for the team and this group and for the country owners. It's really important too for Paris, and it's important too for France more generally, I think, in terms of certainly its profile in football. But listening to what people are saying, what's really interesting, I think, is great. Win it once, you've got to win it again. But if you look at, for example, in Spain, the big clubs, Barcelona, Real Madrid in particular, but also La Liga, the way in which these organizations are managed, their commercial ambitions. If you look at the tenacity of the head of La Liga, Javier Tebas, who some of your viewers may know, incredibly strategic and aggressive, ambitious in the way that he's pursuing success, not just for Real and Barca, but for the league more generally. And so I think what happens next? Okay, Paris Saint-Germain could win again, could win next year, or maybe they'll win the league again. They've won it quite often over the last decade and a half. But for me, the bigger legacy for Paris Saint-Germain would be to, and I hate this term, the Farmers League. I'm not one of these English people who uses this term, the Farmers League. France has got incredible players. The big problem with a lot of French players is they migrate elsewhere. The big challenge now is to keep them in France, for other teams to grow, for the league to develop, for some of those broadcasting issues that the league has had, for some of the governance issues that the league has had, for those to be solved. And I think the bigger legacy of Paris Saint-Germain will be for French football more generally, not just for the club.
Well, let's see if that excitement does filter through. Of course, with Paris FC also joining Paris Saint-Germain in Ligue 1 next season. That's their neighbours of just about 50 metres between the stadiums. Selina Sykes is with us again. Selina, where are we at with the parade?
Listen, if my view is correct, I think that the bus has just arrived at the bottom of the Champs-Élysées. A lot of excitement among the fans here as they can see that the bus has just arrived at the Champs-Élysées. If I am not mistaken, everyone eagerly anticipating for their arrival. We're about to say 100 metres from the Arc de Triomphe. Everybody eagerly waiting so they can catch a view, obviously catch a glimpse of that Champions League trophy and all favourite players. The parade about an hour in total, so lots of eagerly waiting fans here as they wait for that moment. They've been waiting to have been arrived
Selina, I do fear, Selina, I will have to cut you just like the signal there, because I'm pretty sure that with such a pulsating fan base around the Champs-Élysées, it is cutting off Selina's signal. We will try and get back to her in just a moment. But we saw those images there, Paul, of Marquinhos, the Brazilian, the only surviving member from the Qatari takeover. He's been there, he's seen it all, he's done it all. Donnarumma in picture there, the goalkeeper, who was really fantastic as well. But back to Marquinhos. This is a strategy which has now paid off to go away from that bling-bling superstar stardom and focus on nurturing younger talent. Of course, it's not the fantasy that everyone is saying, because there was still a significant amount of money spent on this new team for Luis Enrique. But yet, this strategy has very much paid off, this togetherness, singing from the same hymn sheet.
Well, I think Marquinhos is that symbol. He's been the skipper, he binds that side together. He was speaking in the prelude to the final about his role in making sure everybody stayed calm, everybody followed Luis Enrique's orders. And while watching the final last night in a bar, one of the biggest cheers came when the camera zoomed in on Marquinhos, and he was welling up as the moment of achievement was drawing nearer, and he got a huge roar from all the fans in the bar because he symbolises what they believe PSG should be, a team rather than a collection of very, very good individuals.
Very good individuals
like
all around
Lionel
the park.
Messi,
all
Neymar.
around the park. Yeah, exactly. And that is, it was very much a team built on individuals before, and of course Kylian Mbappe, who departed for Real Madrid. We can quickly just see what Mbappe reacted with. It was a tweet that the former Paris Saint-Germain player did respond with for his for his swan song, at least going out into Real Madrid. Now he sees his former team doing a wondrous thing without him. It is crazy that Luis Enrique managed to change the dynamic of the team so that it didn't rely on one player like that. And now spread around the park, you've got Dembele, you've got Kvaratskhelia, you've got Desire Doué. Here's the tweet from Mbappe, just celebrating the team's success. Kylian Mbappe there saying, "Le grand jour est arrivé enfin." That is, the big day has finally arrived. So he is celebrating just as much as anyone else. But do you think deep down he'll be feeling quite gutted?
Optics. It's very strange that this team wins the trophy that he was meant to stay to secure as soon as he goes. And the team that he went to, which usually wins the trophy when he's not there, doesn't win the trophy. It doesn't look great, but that's football, and that's the irony. And you can never say, oh, because we have this player, we're going to win. PSG, over the years, have been getting the players who should have made them win the Champions League. And with a bunch of people, João Neves, who's he? He's only 20. Desire Doué, well, he looks good, he's got potential, but it's not Kylian Mbappe, it's not Neymar, it's not Lionel Messi, and they win. So it's there for everybody to see. You don't have to rely on star names.
Well, Simon, how much can a Champions League make these names become star names and really take the PSG brand globally to a level that has never been seen before?
Oh, well, again, I think commercially, Paris Saint-Germain has done amazing things over the last decade. It is no longer a football club. It is a lifestyle brand. It is an entertainment product. You go to New York 6th Avenue. You can visit the PSG store there. You go to PSG Park in Shanghai. And I was following on Chinese social media. There was a big gathering at PSG Park in Shanghai last night. And so commercially, the club has already been doing very, very well. I know some of the people who work there in the off-field departments, in marketing and branding and finance, and they're incredibly well qualified, incredibly skillful people, and they've done amazing things with the club. But I think where PSG now is this immediately propels you into another level. You're looking at more than 100 million euros just by winning the final. But of course, it's more than that, because when you begin to negotiate new commercial deals with sponsors, with kit suppliers, with other types of commercial entity, you can put a premium on the price that you charge. Because, of course, it's not just people in Paris and France who are watching PSG, it's people all over the world that are watching the club. And so what I would expect to see now over the next 2, 3, 5 years is that we are talking about Real Madrid, and we do talk about Manchester City and Bayern Munich, but Paris Saint-Germain is absolutely now cemented Certainly in the top 10, but I would argue now in the top 5 for the next decade of the most commercially attractive European football clubs. So this was a really big win in commercial terms.
And the third team on the money list in terms of their revenue intake, that's after Real Madrid and Manchester City. PSG very much going from strength to strength as far as that's concerned. Thank you so much, Simon. Let me just cross back to the Champs-Élysées with Selina Sykes. Selina, we're seeing each player taking turns with the trophy, celebrating in front of their fans. It really is an historic moment because this has, of course, never been done before. First-time winners in Munich. They became the fifth first-time winners at the Allianz Arena after Nottingham Forest, Borussia Dortmund, Chelsea, to name a few, as well as Marseille, if I can get my statistics correct. The last French team to win, that was in 1993. This hasn't been seen on this level. Just tell me what's going on, because, I mean, the emotions are just getting higher and higher.
Well, that's right. Right now, I think there's a weird silence amongst the crowd here. They're very much taking in the moment, watching on the big screen here. I'm on the far end of the Champs-Élysées near the Arc de Triomphe. The fans are eagerly awaiting for a bus that will be arriving towards the end of the parade, which is expected to last about an hour. So fans eagerly awaiting. They were very vocal earlier on, lots of chanting, lots of singing, but I think they're saving their voices for the time being, because obviously as soon as that bus arrives, they'll be wanting to give their PSG team a raucous welcome, as I saw at the Parc des Princes last night. PSG fans are absolutely ecstatic, and so they should be, because this is a historic moment for their club and for France. Obviously only the second French club Champions League. Here we go. And it's starting this part of the crowd as the bus is slowly but surely approaching. I think I can just about make the tip out of it behind me. It's still got a fair way to go, so fans patiently waiting on this end of the Champs-Élysées for that bus to arrive. It's a moment that they've all been waiting for. People have been waiting at the Champs-Élysées for hours to get here. People coming from not just Paris, but the suburbs outside of Paris and even further afield to come here to witness this historic moment, Jean-Emile.
Selina, we see very festive scenes, these live images coming now of the Champs-Élysées. It wasn't so contained, though, last night following the win. Of course, the fans at the Parc des Princes, they flooded out onto the streets of Paris. There were several hundred arrests, in fact, over 550, and there were 2 deaths, unfortunately. They're still determining how much they were linked to the excitement that went on. A man dying in ducks, as well as a young boy dying in ducks, rather, and a man knocked off his scooter in the center of Paris. What can you see in terms of how this is being contained right now in the Champs-Élysées? Is it all systems go? Is it all being very well received and well adhered to?
Well, listen, Jean-Emile, for now, from what I can see, things are relatively calm. Everyone just in a joyous mood, wanting to make the most of this moment. We did have a sighting of a few teenagers who managed to get onto a balcony just on my left-hand side. They had managed to somehow get up onto that balcony, which they are obviously not supposed to. The police quickly intervened and they were dispersed. But other than that, everything going very calmly here. Obviously, all these fans are here to celebrate, and I think it's just a shame, really, when it comes to football and football fans, because obviously the vast majority of people are here to enjoy and to celebrate with the rest of the fans and to witness this historic moment. And it's obviously just sometimes spoiled by a minority few, but there seems to be everyone's shushing at the moment. I think I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but everybody wants silence. I think that the squad is going to start singing from the bus or something.
Just see, I think that's Ousmane Dembele there with the microphone. I couldn't quite make it out. It's Presnel Kimpembe, rather, who was injured for the majority of the season. He's still very much part of the celebrations, but it really has become a team effort. Selina, I'm going to go back to Paul in the studio. Paul, everyone playing their part. We've mentioned this on a few occasions, but the system of PSG under Luis Enrique, he has completely transformed it. And it's not just a transformation which has happened since he came in. I could say that it's a transformation that happened only since January. Some positional changes. He moved Ousmane Dembele from the right wing into a false 9 position. He made sure that the midfield was ticking along quite nicely. The tactics of Luis Enrique have been outstanding.
Well, and he was criticised for making these changes. Obviously, you lose somebody like Kylian Mbappe, who's going to guarantee you about 30 goals a season, and you bring in Dembele, who hasn't really excelled as a goal scorer. He was at Barcelona for 6 years and scored 40, and in 2 seasons at PSG, especially this one, he's scored 33. So obviously something good has happened.
A Ballon d'Or shout, do you think?
He was playing that down before the game, and he answered in the correct way, saying it's about making the passes for the team. And of course, if you win the Ballon d'Or, it's because you play in a good team and you shine well in a good team.
Well, he certainly played his part in that final. Ousmane Dembele, the man we are talking about right now, he had a terrific assist for that Desiree Doué goal.
The third goal. I'm still crying about that.
It was
beautiful.
Unbelievable football. And we have tabloids all across from the UK to other parts of the world just absolutely praising this performance. Simon Chadwick, as we are just getting words of shush from the crowd, I guess we are going to hear from the players themselves. The Sun newspaper in England said that the Desiree Doué performance could be hung up in the Louvre. Again, such an important image for Paris Saint-Germain to portray there, just in terms of the quality of the football on show.
Did I hear that correctly? That English people have been praising French people? Is this really true? I do mean that flippantly, but I think there's also a serious point there as well. This is why football success is so important, not just to French people, but to the British and around the world, because through football we very often look at countries, and our perceptions of countries, our attitudes towards them is shaped by the football that we see. And if you think about great Brazilian sides of history, what many of us think about Brazil has been filtered through football teams. And so the fact that this is now a young, dynamic, incredibly well organised, exciting, efficient, very successful, obviously the highest scoring team in a Champions League final ever. A lot of people in Britain and elsewhere in the world are going to be looking at Paris, they're going to be looking at France, and they're going to be making conclusions about the city and the country on the basis of the football team. And so now that the club appears to be locked into this path of exciting young talent, predominantly French, making a bold statement about what it is like to be French and what France stands for. This is what I think we're going to see over the next 5 to 10 years at PSG, because clearly it works, but also it's very important too in terms of shaping perceptions of the country. And I know that Emmanuel Macron is very big on this. We sometimes hear him talk about, or in general people talk about, the soft power of football, the attractiveness of football, how people think about countries through successful football teams. And I don't think it's any coincidence that Macron today is hosting the team, because in terms of French soft power, PSG has done a huge favour for the country.
Absolutely. Emmanuel Macron, I do dare say he is not a PSG fan, though. That title belongs to Nicolas Sarkozy. But Macron, I think Marseille, if I'm not mistaken. Simon, thank you so much. We're going to head to Selina once again, because she can just preview for us what's going to be happening now in the next couple of moments and leading up to their visit to the Élysées Palace. But Selina, we spoke last night about how even the Paris Saint-Germain fan base themselves was originally split. You had one side in Boulogne, the other side in Porto-Té. It even led to violence at one point in 2010. A fan was killed over the contrasting views about what it meant to support PSG. They did away with these fan ultra groups. For 6 years they were banned, and then ultimately the Qataris brought them back in, and they've played their part unlike anything we've seen before under the same umbrella. You've been speaking to fans. How united do they all feel now?
Well, I mean, how can you not be united in a moment like this, Jean-Emile? It's victories that bring fans together, and Well, you can see it here. Everybody's out. Everybody wants to just enjoy this moment enjoy this historic moment. It's a big moment for PSG. It's a big moment for Paris. So everybody here out enjoying this moment. So I spoke to a few fans earlier on Champs-Élysées. We can take a listen to them now.
We were at home for the match. We were a bit scared of going out, but we had to come. It was crazy. We were waiting for this. And now we're so happy to see the players. We're over the moon.
A lot of joy, a lot of pride after what's been the perfect season, I'd say.
For years, we've relied on the individuality of great players, but this year it's all about the collective. Everyone playing together, passing the ball, playing well, building together, and it's much better.
Once again, Selina, thank you so much. We're going to come back to you in just a few, just to take us through what's coming up next. But I'm going to head quickly to Paul. Once again, Paul, there's just so much going on, and we're seeing all of this excitement, this euphoria. Really, people are experiencing this for the first time since PSG was created as a club in the 1970s. It now puts them amongst Europe's elite. Do you think that what Luis Enrique has created here is a blueprint for other sides to follow?
Enrique will obviously, his reputation will obviously improve and go up. What he's brought in is discipline, strength. It's become political now as well. The collective works. And politicians are going to jump on that. Obviously, football coaches will say the same thing. Star power now, well, if you fit into the collective, then that makes you the star. And it is incredible what that midfield has done. Fabian Ruiz, Vitinha, and João Neves. They're not very starry, but they're now champions of Europe, and they've got through some very, very good teams to get there, and it will make a huge difference for him, because he can show his bosses, look, you listen to me, and this is what happens. You've won trophy after trophy after trophy. The domestic sweeps, it's the Farmers League just to annoy Simon, but he's won the most prestigious trophy in European club competition, and that gives you a lot of bargaining power.
And not just for him, for PSG as well. Simon, this victory qualifies Paris Saint-Germain for the 2029 Club World Cup. So how might this change their perceptions and try to do it on an even bigger international stage?
So what we now know is that PSG is arguably the most successful club in French league history, and there is an issue there, I think, for French football about how to re-establish some competitive balance. So in other words, you do see Marseille and Lyon and other clubs beginning to challenge for the title, not just PSG. As for PSG, to become a truly great club, they've got to win the Champions League again. So not just once every 5 or 10 years. They've got to be doing it twice every 3 or 4 years, let's say. But then the Club World Cup, this is an intangible right now, because this summer we're getting a new and relaunched Club World Cup. There will be more teams. It's going to take place in the United States. There are rumours that subsequent editions over the next few years will also take place in the United States. And I think the US is really interesting because this is the biggest market for sport in the world. It's the most mature, most financially valuable. And so if you have, for example, Paris Saint-Germain going to the United States regularly, or perhaps playing in places like India or China regularly, and being successful in major tournaments, then this really does propel the club forward into the stratosphere, and it does potentially have the cachet, the appeal, the brand equity, if I can use a marketing term, to be able to compete with the likes of Real Madrid. And for the club themselves, absolutely amazing. We talked a little bit already in the broadcast about the financial revenues it's already generating. It potentially could generate more. But that, flipping it back to the first point that I made, that creates an issue for French football, because if you've got one team that is flying out into the stratosphere and everybody else is left behind, then it poses some really important questions for French football about who are we and what do we do and who do we represent and what do we want and how should our league be? Do we really want Paris Saint-Germain winning the title for the next 15 years and nobody else being able to get near to them? So I think PSG are on the cusp of something really, really compelling. It's a global brand. It's really remarkable, I think, in places like England, the number of young people I see walking around streets wearing PSG shirts. And it's not just because of success, because it's a lifestyle statement. So PSG is something incredible. But that does pose some issues, as I say, for the rest of French football and for the French Football Federation to think about. And so as we move forward over the next 5 to 10 years, we'll see whether PSG reaches this greatness, but at the same time, we also need to see how France and French football more generally respond to it.
Well, let me ask that question to Paul. I know it's quite a loaded question.
It's getting existential now, isn't
not
it?
very easy to answer. Paul Myers, you're seeing this right now as a fan of Marseille, as a fan of Lyon. Even, the old guard of like Saint-Etienne, Monaco, all these other clubs which have a bit of history about them. You're so desperate for that success as well. How do you think owners of those clubs are going to respond? Do you think that this is going to drive them for further investment or even looking elsewhere for outsourcing financial assistance?
Well, it will have to, really, because PSG are winning the domestic league quite easily. They wrapped it up back in April. It was Désiré Doué who scored the winning goal to give them the 3 points, to give them a record 13th title. And the other owners, John Textor at Lyon, he's been arguing with Nasser El Khalifi at the boss at PSG. And it's a squabble, but it's El Khalifi who's won it because he's out there on the Champions League victory parade. And the other owners have either just got to accept, well, PSG, they're going to win, and we'll just try and break even, make a little profit, and hopefully come second, get into the Champions League. And if that really becomes the ambition of other owners and other teams, just to make the Champions League, well, that's not very good for the domestic league, it would seem to me.
Well, I mean, we can't have treble winners every single season being the same guys.
Well, I mean, Luis Enrique has done that. He won the French Super Cup, won the Coupe de France, and won the Ligue 1. And they've done it again, and the Champions League.
And the Champions League. Selina Sykes, that Champions League, old big ears being lofted up into the crowd as we speak. In terms of what we can expect in the hours to come, what can you tell us?
Well, Jean-Emile, the bus is inching forward, I would say, at a snail's pace rate. So I'd say the parade is going to last for a fair few while to go as the fans take in that Champions League trophy and the PSG squad on that open top bus. Once the parade is over, we can maybe imagine that festivities will continue on the streets of Paris, but the PSG squad is expected at the Élysées Paris, where they will be congratulated by the French President Emmanuel Macron, and then it will be a direction Parc des Princes stadium in the south of Paris. The Champions League trophy officially unveiled to mainly, I would say, season ticket holders and anyone who has been lucky enough to get a place in the stadium this evening, as there will be some sort of show and official presentation of the trophy at the Parc des Princes around 9:30 p.m. this evening.
Selina Sykes, thanks so much, and make sure to catch a glimpse, take a few photos as that bus does pass. It is history in the making. Paul Myers, is that the right trophy? Is that the actual trophy that they won?
I would hope so. Or there's probably another couple.
I think they've got a few. I'm not sure if Sergio Ramos it was who once dropped the trophy.
He dropped it or something like that.
Yeah.
You got to have the one which you sleep with as well. There's all these kind of trophies lying around.
It is tremendous. Simon, what do you expect that this is going to do for Paris as a city going forward, just in terms of this soft power, as you like to allude to, and France as well as a sporting nation? How do you think it's going to compare with Qatar? I mean, there's a whole lot of questions about the overall impact globally that this will have using football.
So over the last 12 months, I've been working with Schema Publica, a think tank based in Paris. And in March, we released our sport and soft power ranking for 2025. Unfortunately for France, the United States came first, Britain came second, but France came third. And so France is already a soft power giant. Obviously, not just the home to Paris Saint-Germain, but the Tour de France, the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, French Open tennis, and a whole bunch of other sporting properties. And as I mentioned a little earlier on in the broadcast, people across the world, whether they're members of the public or government officials, business people, very often their perceptions of a country, their attitudes towards a country are shaped by sport. And France already does this very well. And if you go back to last summer, the Olympic Games, this was really important to Paris as a city. If you remember back to the Olympics, the way that the city was portrayed was this kind of mix of heritage and style and sophistication, but also of modernity and diversity and cosmopolitanism. And I think that kind of soft power of France is embodied or epitomized by Paris Saint-Germain. If you look at the way in which the club markets itself, it is the embodiment of 21st century modern French cities. Very inclusive, very diverse, based around, for example, rap music, good style, good fashion, glamour. And so what I think this victory will do is it will help France and it will help Paris double down as centres of soft power globally. And what you will see, and we see this already in Madrid, we see it already in cities like Liverpool, is people will start to travel to Paris simply to watch football. They will want to go and see Paris Saint-Germain. And this is a great thing because obviously it's attractive and appealing, but there is an economic impact of this too. So when people travel to cities to watch football, they stay in hotels, they spend in restaurants, they go to shops, they go to museums and so forth. They buy merchandise. Many of your viewers will know this retail outlet on the Champs-Élysées. You've got a queue normally to get into what effectively is a sports store. So there is an economic impact to all of this too. But I do think that you will find moving forward from here, even after just one Champions League victory, more and more people will be heading to Paris just for the football.
Well, that's quite a remarkable thing to think about, that they will just skip off the Eiffel Tower, the Arc de Triomphe itself, and just head straight to the Parc des Princes. Simon, thanks so much. I'm going to just turn that to Paul once again, because it is really about that cosmopolitanism of Paris Saint-Germain. Again, going back to the history of the club, you had the right-wing elements on the Boulogne side, you had the left wing on the side of Porte-Haute, and now you're seeing this fan base, which is made up of so many different ethnicities, nationalities, but all considering themselves very much staunch Parisians. It is something very unique to the club.
Well, it's something that the club really has to exploit, not because there is a huge talent pool around the club in the Ile-de-France, and they need to tap into that. There's a big one around South London. The London clubs can obviously channel that. If PSG can get the talent from around its base at the Parc des Princes, it also offers up a model for other youngsters to say, well, here's somebody from my area who's now playing at the Parc des Princes. If he can do it, then I can do it. So it's just got a kind of conveyor belt of role models. Kylian Mbappe, now departed, he was from Bondy. But when he went back with the World Cup to Bondy, the joy and the enthusiasm and the desire to emulate Kylian, and he was very aware of that. And if you have the likes of Seni Mayulu going round back to where he grew up and showing the kids the Champions League trophy, and I scored in it, and you saw the joy when he scored, a kid from the academy scoring the fifth goal, and it wasn't just a tap in, it was he thrashed it into the net, and the explosion of joy from the bench was actually one of the highlights of the game for me as well. It's just regenerative. It will be something which will help PSG to tap into the local market. That's cheaper. They make more money as well.
and just relying on that young French talent coming through. I mean, you mentioned that fifth goal being scored, and we also had Désiré Doué with a man of the match performance.
I won't be able to talk if I keep.
It was remarkable because that third goal, if I could just remind our viewers, it started at PSG's box. Inter Milan were finally trying to do something in the second half. They were losing 2-0, and then it all started with I think it was Vitinha basically receiving the pass, turning, driving through the midfield, and laying it off finally to Désiré Doué, who just nonchalantly passed it by Jan Sommer.
It was a sumptuous finish. It was sumptuous, and thought we all looked at it and thought, the goalkeeper could have done better, but that was how tantalising it was, because the goalkeeper had no chance, and it was an absolutely glorious goal.
Absolute
It
brilliant.
killed the game as well.
Effectively, because it was 2-0 at that stage. Again, going back to the match,
anyway.
it was we had that opening goal from a former Inter Milan player, Achraf Hakimi. We saw him lifting the trophy there, the Moroccan who. He
didn't really celebrate.
He didn't celebrate at all. In fact, we in the studio, we asking ourselves,
is it a goal?
Is it a goal or not? And then it turns out, yes, actually, he was just not going to celebrate. Magnanimous, I have to say. And then that deflected striker, Désiré Doué.
That's the luck you need in the Champions League. You know, that doesn't go in, and it's still 1-0, and Inter is still in the game.
3-0, and it was Désiré Doué as well. And then 4-0. Picha Kvaratskhelia, the Georgia signing from Napoli, and then that fifth goal from their local boyhood
Absolutely
hero.
wonderful, yeah.
It's just been a tremendous reflection, and we're getting all of these live images. Paul Myers from RFI International, thank you so much. We're going to be back for more as well. Simon Chadwick coming to us from Coventry, and Selena Sykes, who's been on the Champs-Élysées, getting all of us this special atmosphere from the Champs-Élysées. We're going to leave you with these pictures as we go on, and my colleague Gavin Lee will be taking over the show in just a few minutes. We'll see you soon.